Hello, you're listening to Food Rebels. This is the food and drink show dedicated to the exciting world of food founders, challenger brands, and people in food who are doing exciting things. For the next 30 minutes, we'll be providing a peek behind the curtain, on-air tastings, food and drink-based entertainment for our listeners around the UK and further afield. You know me, I'm AJ, taste expert, food writer, great taste judge, business owner. And we've got the lovely Colin Mordy back on the show again. This is his third show with us presenting. Welcome back, Colin.
Thank you for having me again. You know, I love being here. I love the location. I love the ambience. It's great. It's amazing.
Oh, you're a legend. Colin, if you don't know him, he founded Food Source Media. It's a foodie agency working with brands from startup to more established companies. But more than that, Colin's really passionate about improving representation of Black and ethnic minority businesses in kind of the food industry. He's been campaigning for better equality. In fact, he's got a really cool show coming up in the autumn called Spill the Beans, which we might hear about at some point.
Yeah.
Which is going to be all about that, which is really cool. So thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Today's show is all about fruit. I'm really bad at eating fruit. I don't know about you. I have to properly force myself. Yeah. And then when my kids refuse to eat fruit, I'm like, oh God, I'm supposed to be setting a better example here.
I do try and make sure I have fruit with my breakfast. I make sure granola, berries, yogurt, milk, and I don't know, a banana. And
that sounds lush.
It does. I try to get into the routine. I might have it for the first 3 days, and then I might just graze on something in the morning. I was like, nah, I should just keep it going, but I just can't.
Oh, so you're a lot better at this than I am then. This is what I'm taking from that. So we've got some really exciting an expert in this studio today. We're going to be meeting Ben Kay from Well Fruited. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, AJ.
It's great to have you here. So what is Well Fruited?
Good question. So the brand was kind of set up as a way to make it easier to get fruit into your diet. You're our exact target customer.
Brilliant.
And 7 in 10 people don't get their 5 a day. And so we wanted to make it easier to do that. And we started off by developing a range of drinks that is unique in the way that it delivers full portions of fruit rather than existing juice and smoothies that are taking the liquid parts of the fruit. Our drink actually provides 100% of the nutrition of a piece of fruit.
No. How do you do that then? Because I thought if you make it into a smoothie, doesn't it? I don't know. I can't remember somebody telling me that once you've broken down all the fibres or something, it didn't have the same level.
Sure. So with a smoothie, traditionally, they would use pressing techniques. So if you look at the bottle of a big brand of a smoothie, then on the back, the ingredients will say pressed fruit, which essentially is where the fruit goes between two pressing plates. And that presses the liquid out the fruit. So you're still not getting the nutrients from the pulp of the fruit. Versus our techniques, which is more similar to if you have a blender at home, and actually how it started for us in a way was when I got a blender for my birthday, and for a few weeks I would create my own drinks, and then after a few weeks the effort would become quite high and I would sort of lose the will to do it. But we said, what if we could actually replicate that idea, but obviously it sort of coagulates after a day or so if you haven't drunk it at home, and turn that into a drink that looked and tasted more like a juice, but actually had 100% of the nutrition of a piece of fruit. And so we use specialist blending techniques under high force conditions, which is very different to how all juices and smoothies would be made.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really exciting. So it's a range of different smoothie flavours. What kind of, we've got 3 here in the studio. Is this the whole range? Have you got more?
Yeah, so we've got 3 flavours, and one of the ways that we make it helps the nutritionals in terms of, because we need less fruit, because we're using the whole fruit, and we've got a bottle here showing you the fruit, which is probably not ideal for a podcast audience, but you can just see the whole fruit in there.
No, it's cool. It's like an empty, it's not an empty bottle, but it's got watermelon. There's bits of orange chopped up in there and some strawberries as well. Looks awesome.
Exactly. And what that means is that we have, on average, half the amount of sugar and half the amount of calories and double the amount of fibre of a comparable product in the market, because we don't need as much fruit to go into our product, because we're not just using the liquid. And that's across our 3 flavours. So we've got here tropical flavour, which is a mixture of pineapple, mango, melon, coconut.
Oh, can we try that one?
Yeah, we can try.
Should we try it as you describe it? So what was this? Tropical?
Exactly.
Pineapple, mango, coconut.
And melon, and a bit of ginger in there as well. So you can give that a try. And obviously the texture is something that's been quite hard for us to get right, and we've been testing over the last 18 months because it was using the whole fruit, and they're quite fibrous and thick fruits. So that was one of the things that at the start it was very thick and sludgy. And then after a lot of testing, we've been getting closer to a juice-like texture. And the only ingredients in there are fruit and water.
Oh, for real?
It's nice. It's got a tartness to it, hasn't it? Which is very pleasant, very cleaning.
Yeah, yeah. Cleanses the palate.
It is very cleansing,
No,
isn't it?
It is.
Thank you. Yeah.
And it's not rich and sweet like some juices can be. But it is sweet, but it's not.
It's a natural sweetness.
Yes,
That's what some people
exactly.
say. Yes, you don't get that sort of typical artificial sweetness because the sweetness is just coming from the fruits, and the only ingredients are the fruits and the water.
And there's a bit of texture in there as well, isn't there, from the kind of fibres?
Yeah, so you can probably taste the actual piece of fruit, even though they're blended down to be very fine.
Yeah.
It has a slightly different texture. People often ask us, is it like a juice or like a smoothie? We say it's kind of in between.
Somewhere in between the two.
That essentially was a lot of testing from the point we started at to get to this point, and that was going out to a lot of events and in-person opportunities to get tasting and direct feedback for us to sort of iterate on the product and get to the point it's at now.
Is you, in terms of your background, is it always been in terms of in the food and drink industry?
Sure. So I spent 5 years working with big supermarkets, mainly on their own label ready meals ranges.
Oh,
So I worked with M&S and Ocado and Waitrose and
Are you
Tesco.
like a chef or?
In a commercial role.
Commercial
so I
chef.
worked for the manufacturer.
development kitchens. No, no?
I worked with the developers.
Oh,
My
yeah.
role was more commercial in terms of sales strategy, promotional strategy, those kind of things, and was working on developing new products, and did that for 5 years. And towards the end of that journey, was getting more interested in my own health and this trend of health and well-being. Was turning vegan myself at the time, and so became more interested in this idea that fruit and veg, like you mentioned at the start, is quite a basic thing as a kid that we get told to eat our 5 a day. Yet people still struggle. Most people don't. We should actually get 10 a day, according to
Oh, wow.
scientists, but 5 a day was just a government target that was put in place.
10 a day.
Maybe 10 was seen as too aspirational.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that this was an area that we were kind of falling short and wasn't really improving. And whilst there's been loads of exciting innovation in veg, when it comes to things like veg proteins and vegetable alternatives, sort of fruit has been a fairly uninnovated in area in many ways in recent times. And that's kind of how the idea started. And it didn't start out to be a drink. We just wanted to make it easier to get fruit into people's diet. But we thought doing it in a drink form is a really convenient way to allow that to happen.
Oh, it's amazing. So what's the next flavour here? Medley.
Yeah.
What's
so,
in that one?
Yeah, the name doesn't really give it away.
No, not really.
We're open to better names for that flavour, but essentially that is the one that we've got an example of the fruit that goes into it here. So that's watermelon, orange, and strawberry. And so this one is, perhaps a more slightly
no.
more neutral taste. This is the reddest one that
It's
you've
the red
got
one,
on.
you're right.
And again, this one, we've tried to adapt our flavours to have a range of taste, from sort of the sweetness of the tropical to the more mellow taste of the medley flavour.
As in medley.
A medley of different fruit.
Oh, a medley, not a medley fruit.
No. So within this, again, the only ingredients are the watermelon, the orange, the strawberry, a bit of lemon, and water.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, I mean, you're a bit of a watermelon expert, aren't you?
I do love watermelon or honeydew melons or types of melon. I really do. That one is not too. It's very nice. It's not sweet. It's not too sweet. It's, sometimes I'm very particular in terms of like what smoothies I have. Like if I do, sometimes you find the ones where that are too sweet, and the aftertaste,
Almost
your
claggy.
lips start
Yeah.
tingling. You're like, oh, what's going on? The nervous reaction. What's going on?
Yeah, you can
So that-
squeak your teeth
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
after this.
Yeah.
that is very nice and very pure, especially for obviously.
It's very refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Very clean.
yeah.
And you get that kind of citrus kick from, I guess, the orange and
Yeah,
some
there's-
lemon content.
exactly.
What would you say in terms of like your target audience is in terms of like this smoothies?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's definitely, there's a lot of people who, so I myself stopped drinking juice when I realized that it wasn't actually as healthy as
Yeah.
the way it's marketed. And I think there's a lot of people who they care about their health,
Yeah.
want to be healthier, but they don't necessarily have the time to be able to do that. So having a more convenient solution, they're not necessarily going to be blending up all their own fruit or trying some of the rarer fruits. If you want to have watermelon, then buying a whole watermelon, cutting up and carving the watermelon is quite a lot of effort. So a lot of people we speak to are people who care about their health, aren't necessarily obsessed with it and just want a more convenient solution and have sort of shied away from juices and maybe even smoothies because of the sugar content and lack of nutrition that you get from a whole piece of fruit.
And to segue onto that, what you've just said, then how do you convey that message to the consumer?
Sure. I think that's one of the most challenging things in all F&B in terms of you have a few seconds on the shelf.
That's what I'm saying.
See the product and understand it. And we've played around with different messaging. I think the fact that we are half the amount of sugar is like a good cue. Look at the bottle and then actually have a look at it. And then to understand that how is that possible? Because we use the whole fruit, we have the nutrients that you don't get. And we've played around with different names. You can see on this packaging at the moment, it says liquid fruit.
Yeah,
and
nice.
we've had other names previously, super blend and things like that. And we're still looking to sort of define what it is, because people say, is it a juice? And we say no. Is it a smoothie? We say no. Is this a new category or not? I don't know. The jury's still out on that.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's fascinating though, because I think you're absolutely right in the first thing you said to me, which is you're our perfect market. Because I used to buy smoothies.
Yeah.
And then I went through a phase of going, oh, right, I think it'd be better or cheaper if I just make these at home. And I went through, like you say, the kind of 3 glory weeks of, yay, look at me buying baby kale to put in my thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you find rotting kale at the bottom.
Where's that? You go through the fridge and you see that old little kale. Like, oh, God, it's there.
Like, I think I should stop doing this. And actually, it's really expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you've got your blueberries and your strawberries and everything else, actually, the whole process was costly. And as I say, I ran out of excitement by the whole thing after about 3 weeks.
And I tried to make it in bulk, and then after day one, it just sort of either
It separates,
doesn't it? Separates or goes, sort of coagulates. And at that time, I was living in a block of flats, and there was a Sainsbury's on the ground floor, so it couldn't have been more convenient for me. And even then, I was still struggling. So just having it in a more drinkable, easy to pick up format, and we've seen that with other sort of drinks categories, that ready to drink is something that hopefully can make it a lot easier for people to get fruit into their diet.
Yeah, I think it's not an easy thing to do, and my daughter doesn't enjoy. I mean, my son eats everything, but he's growing. You can literally see him growing, whereas she's a bit more discerning with things. And it's a taste profile, isn't it, that you actually have to get quite used to, that kind of sharp, sweet thing with fruit.
Yes, exactly. And although the drink's not specifically targeted for kids, as part of our testing, when we've been out to different events, we've been keen for them to try it, because they do give very honest feedback. They don't hold back. And
Brutal.
at times, yes.
If they're like my kids, anyway.
Exactly. But having that has also meant that we can just adapt that taste so that it appeals to as wide a group of people as possible and isn't too sharp. And probably the last flavour is the most sharp in terms of taste, the one we haven't got to yet, the red berry. But certainly I think they're all hopefully quite mass market flavours. Although I know, having listened to other people on the podcast, people might ask us, why don't you have apple or orange as like the most typical flavours? And part of that's due to the texture. So trying to get the texture to the way it is a case of using different fruits that have different water content to make sure that we get the consistency of the product right. And something like an apple, for example, there's not that much liquid that comes out, and it's quite hard and tough. So that's one reason. And then secondly as well, trying to just get as many different types of fruits into people's diet. The most common fruits that you might eat might be an orange or a banana or an apple, but how often do people have a mango, for example? And there's lots of nutrients in these different fruits that allows us to put them in whilst having more mainstream fruits in there as well.
Yeah, amazing. And how do you source all your fruits and things?
Well, we're actually in the process of perhaps adapting that, as we're looking to fundraise to build a production facility. So that's probably going to change slightly based on where it is. And that means that one of our key sustainability messages, I suppose, in the sourcing is that we are, wherever we're sourcing from, sourcing whole fruit. And 1 in 2 pieces of fruit and veg does go to waste. And unfortunately, juice and smoothie production waste over 3 million tonnes a year of fruit pulp.
Oh, you're joking. I'd have thought they were scooping up the waste.
It can get sent off to be sent as a biofuel. But what's sad, I suppose, is that those are the most nutritious parts of the fruit.
Is that the peel and things like that?
Or even the actual pulp. So when you're making a juice, for example, out of an orange, then the liquid comes out the orange, and then you're left with that sort of orange flesh and skin, and half the vitamin C is in the pith, the white bit within the orange skin, and all of that's getting put to waste or not entering our bodies. And that's the most nutritious part.
Silly question. Is it the same as like So could you make your smoothies using like wonky fruit?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, I don't know. I'm just because when you're talking about like the wastage and sustainability, I was thinking like, oh, so make your smoothies using like wonky fruit or something like
Yes.
that. Would that help? Or
yeah.
does
So
that-
we've played around with sort of imperfect fruit and
yeah, that's it.
and things like that, and it's something that we do try and where possible utilize. We don't put it on the bottles because we can't ensure that it's always going to contain wonky
Yeah.
fruit.
So sorry,
yeah.
it's too perfect. It
Yeah,
must
yeah,
go back.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean? You
but-
can't really.
Yeah, if you look at these 3 flavors, there's probably about a dozen different fruits in there. So
Yeah.
guaranteeing that it's always going to be wonky fruit is
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah, you
But
can't
yeah,
really
where we
well.
can. But certainly by using that whole fruit and ensuring that the whole fruit goes into the bottles, it means that we don't have that waste and all that fruit waste.
Yeah.
The decomposition of that's the equivalent of over 800,000 cars on the road just from juice and smoothie production.
Wow.
So if we can start to divert some of that and some of the demand into this drink, then again, that's another really great benefit for the environment from our products.
Yeah, amazing. And what's this final one then? Let's taste the red berry.
Yeah, so this is the red berry drink. So perhaps slightly unusually compared to traditional red berry drinks, we've got quite a lot of red grape in there. But also raspberry and lemon, and so you've got the sort of tartness of the lemon versus
my
the
best one.
sweetness.
I think that's my best one too.
That is a very popular flavour.
It's got pink peppercorn in it. I was like, there's something savoury in here.
Yeah, just which technically pink peppercorn is technically a berry. It's a dry berry.
Oh, is it?
So that still fulfills our mission of it just being fruit and water. But even though it looks like a black peppercorn,
It gives it a great complexity, doesn't it?
yeah, it just elevates it slightly. And even the kids that have tried it, I wouldn't say they picked out this pink peppercorn, but they have liked it. And again, a slightly different taste, but hopefully you can also, as you're drinking it, sort
Yeah.
of feel the actual raspberry and the grape in there.
You can definitely taste it.
You know when you go to like I think you've done a lot of food like sampling at shows and festivals and stuff. What's the vibe been like?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because I think people at first think it's just a juice.
Yeah, I've tried you before. Yeah, that kind of vibe. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that kind of mirrors the perception of a lot of people saying, no, I don't drink juice. And then you have to sort of win them back over.
Yeah.
And say, oh, it's not actually a juice, it's different, it's fruit. And they go, oh, that's interesting. And I think that process, though, in terms of the product and the way it looks and feels, we've gone on quite a long journey there. When we first started, it was very different in terms of we used glass bottles, we had different branding.
Oh, yeah.
Even this branding and the bottles you can see here are actually bigger than what we're moving to a slightly smaller bottle that looks like sort of round circular one. So as well as the product, it's been quite interesting to get feedback on the way it's packaged, the branding, which again is probably going to change, and everything associated with it. So it's been a really good process, I think. And I know a lot of other food and drink founders that have kind of gone through that process of validating their concept, just because you can get that feedback there and then straight away. And when someone buys the product and kind of walks away, we're trying to looking at them, seeing if they're drinking it to try and judge their reaction. And yeah, definitely the texture was the hardest thing for us to crack, and go through that process. And the past sort of 18 months of doing that and improving our technologies, changing our recipes to improve that has been invaluable.
So where could one pick up a
Well,
bottle of well fruit?
yeah, actually, these samples we're having now are hot property because it's quite difficult. To get hold of right now.
Limited edition. That's what you should. Limited edition. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so we were doing direct to consumer trials at the start of the year, and then we recently paused production because we were making it in a kitchen environment, which was quite inefficient, and we're looking to set up a production facility. Because the product is quite unique, and we spoke to over 40 manufacturers across the UK and Europe, and this process doesn't exist, and the technology we use to do it isn't really used. So it's exciting because it will be the first place where you can actually create a whole fruit drink, which is super exciting. We're kind of really looking forward to, but also it means that we're just in the process of setting up that facility and doing some fundraising to allow us to do that. And then the plan is to launch fully into retail at the start of next year.
That's really exciting. It's cool. I love having brands on the show. You know, we talk to a lot of brands who are already really established, and that's really cool too. But I love talking to people when they're at this really early stage, because I think it's so inspirational of this kind of process that you're going through. And I just wanted to ask a bit more about that. So you were saying when you introduced the business that it was, you know, you got given a smoothie and got really excited about it. But you must have had a drive inside you to set up your own business beforehand. You've got to be open to the opportunities, haven't you?
For sure. And at the moment, there's two of us, myself, my co-founder, Alex. And I think at the start, there was definitely something there where I'd worked in a lot of big business before and learned a lot and was really appreciative of those experiences. But that also comes with quite a lot of sort of red tape, and it takes a lot of time to get things done. And so there was always that drive to have ideas and do things and just be able to switch things on.
Turn on a sixpence whenever you like.
Exactly. And that means that sometimes it doesn't always go to plan and things don't work out, but it also means you can try lots of things. And through that, we've just learned so much. And certainly through our social media, for example, we've had now over 7 million views across our videos on our channel. And that experience is something we'd have just never done working in a bigger company where you're boxed into what you're doing. So there was that drive to try things where we thought we had good ideas, and then sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. But things like that, I think, and Alex, my co-founder, had started a few smaller businesses before, had definitely given us that drive, and that I think some people have the ability and just lack the confidence, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I think certainly just forcing yourself into that situation proves that you do have the ability to do it, and networking along the way with other people who've been through similar experiences, I think I've found that out as well.
And in terms of, like, we always talk about NPD, new product development, you know, new flavors, new things that you're going to bring out. Sure. Will it always be juices?
No. So we're...
Sorry, not juices, not smoothies.
Yeah, well...
What are you? Liquid fruit.
Yeah, it would always be liquid fruit,
Yes, a good question to ask. And I know there's such thing as super smoothies, so we're playing around at the moment.
Well, what's a super smoothie when it's at home?
Kale.
Yeah.
Probably not.
There's brands out there that call themselves a super smoothies that have more ingredients. So we're working on like super juice. Could that be a thing? But
okay,
certainly
cool.
in terms of new product development, so we're doing some work in industrial kitchens next month. So we're going to be working on potentially some new flavors and slight refinement of these flavors. But I think going forward and into the future, we set out as a brand that existed to make it easier to get good quality fruit into people's diet, and that wasn't limited to drinks. And so I think there's other categories that we have half an eye on where we think the quality of fruit and that isn't as good as it could be, and we can again make it easier to get fruit into your diet in other ways. So there's a few other categories that we like to work on, but at the same time we want to focus on the drinks certainly for the next 18 months and then expand from there. And there's certain other brands where I've come across where they've gone into all sorts of categories. Even Vita Coco is doing shampoo, coconut shampoo, which is a large departure. I'm not sure if we'll be doing fruit shampoo. But
Yet.
Yeah, exactly. But certainly there's other categories that we're looking at, and because that ultimately is our mission, to make it easier to get that fruit into your diet.
Yeah, it's amazing. You remind me of, I don't know if you've ever come across it. They were on Aldi's next big thing. They're called Freddy's Farm.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
It's really cool. And they make they're fruit bars, but better than, I think I'm allowed to say, better than anything else on the market, because they don't have free radicals of sugar because they keep all the fiber in. I don't really understand the science. I'm trying to explain it as I understand it. So hopefully I haven't got it too far wrong. But essentially the way, if a kid is eating that bar, the way the sugar then is dispersed around the body, because the fibers are all still there and intact because of some really super whizzy clever technology that they have. It's just like hundreds of times better for your body.
Yes, exactly.
Again, I don't know if the hundreds of times claim is correct, but it's a lot better.
That fiber, it kind of forms the gel within your body. And so the sugar that you're taking in, if that's our drink, for example, because we've got the fiber with it, less of that sugar is ending up in your bloodstream because of the presence of fiber. And I would assume it's a lot of the same idea behind some of the brands that you mentioned there. And so 9 in 10 people don't get their daily fiber, so even worse than the 5 a day. And so if we can again make it easier to get that fiber into your body, then these challenger brands is probably one of the key things key areas of nutrition that we need to improve on in this country.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? There's a lot of brands that I've come across recently that have this kind of functional element to them. And what I like about yours is it does have a functional element because fruit is a naturally occurring source that we're supposed to, it's already functional.
Yes,
Yeah.
You don't need to add
not a new
anything
thing,
to
yeah,
this.
fruit, yeah.
It's already functional. It already, we know, improves gut health if you're eating proper fiber, which is also going to improve mental health if you're eating sufficient quantities. You know, all of these things are going to be linked together. And it's really interesting that I was sitting here thinking, oh, they should make this functional. They should add some, what do they call them? Adaptogens or something.
Yes.
And then thinking, they don't need to. It's already, all the good stuff is already there.
Exactly. And there's a lot of brands on the market I've seen where they've added vitamins in manually, and we can see in a lot of the scientific research that taking supplements is just not as good for you as getting
You don't
those
absorb
vitamins.
them, do you?
Exactly.
Because you need fiber and stuff, right?
Getting those vitamins from their natural sources is much better for you. And I think at the start as well, one of the trends that I noticed that perhaps slightly frustrated me was a lot of these brands which were shouting about 0 calorie
Yeah.
as a thing, which is great if you're on a diet, but also means sort of 0 nutrients because there's virtually nothing in them. And so whilst we do have lower calories, naturally, this whole trend of 0 calorie was getting to a worrying point where people aren't going to get the nutrients they need
Yeah.
if everything they had is lacking in calories.
It tastes like something that used to be good for you.
Exactly, but completely stripped down.
I know, and I worry about it as well because, you know, doing some of the kind of flavour judging that I do, sometimes if you've taken out all the sugar and you've taken out all the fat and you've taken out all of the different elements in different products, the flavour that's left is very light. It's not got that richness, and actually you need the naturally occurring fructose. You need some of those sugar elements. They're not bad for you. Like sugar is not bad sugar, yes, but naturally occurring sugars, they're
Exactly. Yes, there's no.
the body knows what to do with them, especially if it's taken with fibre and some of the other things, isn't it?
Exactly, and one of the questions that people ask us, or that we read a lot about, is like, can you eat too much fruit? And even studies have shown if you have a diet of eating 20 fruit a day, which is very unlikely, but again, because you're getting that fibre packaged with it, there's not significant adverse effects to doing so. And so it's just knowing about that and having the sugar packaged in the right way that means that it's not as bad for you as, say, added sugars or things like that.
Amazing. Well, I think we're going to be keeping an eye out for you guys and seeing what's on the horizon for the next year or two. It sounds like I feel like you're at the kind of tipping point now and it's all just suddenly going to go for you guys.
Thank you. Yes, it's an exciting time as we're looking to, as you say, scale up, and we've done a lot of that testing, and I think there's exciting things in the pipeline that we've got planned, and we're just looking forward to having a production facility where we can actually supply in the volumes that we need to meet some of the demand for sure.
Amazing. Well, watch this space, I think, is the thing. So Well Fruited. Have a look out. That'll be hopefully in retail establishments soon. Can people buy it on your website?
So they can sign up on our website to our newsletter where we kind of update people on
Amazing.
When it's available. And obviously, if anyone has specific questions for me, find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Amazing.
I will do.
Cool. So that's Ben Kay on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for coming in, Ben. It was really cool to meet you. And thank you for sharing your story about Well Fruited so far. I feel like we're going to see you again in a couple of years and it's going to look very different.
Thank you very much.
And thanks again to my fellow presenter, Colin Mordy, who has been
you.
making us all crack up again for another week. So thank you so much. That's
Thank
been
you for having
awesome.
me.
You've been listening to Food Rebels. We broadcast live at 5 every Wednesday through radio shows and stations around the UK and further afield, as well as podcasting apps, all the usual ones, iTunes, Spotify, Audible, whatever one you've got on your phone. If you're interested to appear on the show, please do get in touch on hello@foodrebels.co.uk, as we'd love to hear from you, especially if you've got a rebellious story to tell us.